Everybody's had some adventures. Everybody's had a few close calls. Everybody's got a story. What's yours?
Hello, friends, and welcome to the long-awaited episode 17 of Cool Story with David J. MacNeil. This episode is the very first three-parter. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate your support. This episode features a conversation with the one and only Canadian-American actor, writer, director, musician, businessman, cannabis rights activist, and comedian Tommy Chong. Now, most of my podcasts so far have followed a pretty straightforward formula. A record date is set for the podcast, and then the episode is recorded from top to tail in one sitting on that date. But not this episode. Oh no, this one took on a life of its own. It was not to be cajoled or corralled. It would happen as it happened. After all, I was talking with Tommy Chong, an 82-year-old man who in 70s lingo could be best described as a different kind of cat. We had a few resets in the beginning as Tommy wanted to do the podcast on his phone, which wouldn't work using the software I usually use. So we decided to go with Skype. We had some issues with Skype due to dropouts, so we decided to eventually switch to Zoom calls instead. We also had some issues with chats being cut short, as Tommy had some last-minute conflicts. When all was said and done, the episode ended up being a series of 6 different conversations plus phone calls to make all of that happen. If I was a glass-half-empty kind of guy, all of these setbacks might have been an issue, but one conversation with Tommy Chong that morphed into a series of conversations turned out to be a real blessing. Another thing about chatting with Tommy was that laying out a roadmap for our chat would be a fool's errand. Like any great improviser or musician, which Tommy is both, Tommy is all stream of consciousness. There would be no trying to guide the conversation. Once we had wrapped up our multiple phone conversations, it also became apparent there was no way I was going to somehow Dr. Frankenstein together some sort of a podcast monster using all of these different bits that I recorded. This podcast would need to be laid out the way it occurred. That would be the only way to do this conversation justice. So I hope you enjoy part 1 of my chat with Tommy Chong. In the first few minutes of the chat, which you will not hear, I gave Tommy a preamble about how the podcast would be laid out. That's when he decided to get the podcast rolling with a question of his own. It might have had something to do with the fact that I was laying out the podcast in a way that might be a little too structured for Tommy's liking. It wasn't until we were 5 minutes into the conversation that I suggested that I actually introduce Tommy to the listeners. Here's what that chat sounded like.
What's your birth sign?
I'm a Capricorn.
Oh, so you're a little bit anal, are you?
I don't know if I am. Maybe a little. I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't know. I mean, I read those things sometimes, and I you know, it's like anything. You see a bit of yourself in it, but not all of yourself in it.
That's true.
What's your birth sign?
Gemini.
Gemini. And so what's the predominant trait of the Gemini?
Oh, there's a couple of us. Yeah. You know, hot and cold.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're all there, and other times, who? Yeah. No, it's it's pretty cool. I got a friend that's an astrologer, and I'm like a pure Gemini for sure. So is she, by the way. Yeah.
Oh, so you're the friend who's the astrologer?
Yeah, we share the same birthday, May 24th, same as Bob Dylan.
Okay.
I'm older than him, by the way.
Yeah. Who do I share a birthday with? Joan Baez.
Yeah, that would be
I'm on January 9. David Bowie and Elvis were born the day before me. But,
Elvis.
Yeah.
Wow. I was visiting with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar the day that Elvis died.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Kareem Jabbar called me up and said he had a shipment because we used to share weed with each other because he was a big pot smoker back in the day. And one day he called me up, and I just heard on the news that Elvis Presley had died. And I had to walk down the road, and I was just thinking about, Elvis Presley was the reason I got into being a musician,
Oh, really?
Yeah, and quit school, everything. As soon as I saw Elvis, I knew exactly what I wanted to do with my life, the rest of my life,
Yeah.
was to entertain. And I used to back up. I was a backup guitar player for this Elvis impersonator, who was a full-blooded Sarcee native from Alberta.
Yeah.
And we used to play girl. What do you call it? Those. I forget the lunch at a school, at a high school.
The cafeteria.
Well, no, it was like the auditorium. There's an auditorium there. That we could use that, and we used to go entertain, get on stage, and with an Elvis look, and have all the girls scream. That was a trip.
Yeah, I remember that day well. I was 7. I was born in 1970. I was 7 years old the day that he died, and we were over at my aunt's place, and all the women were just in tears, and my aunt broke out. She had the Elvis Gold albums. Remember those?
Sure.
The Gold collection. She broke those out and started playing them, and everybody danced all night and cried. And
what a best way. And you want to hear something weird? I think the next day or next couple of days, my daughter was friends with Lisa Marie, and they were quite young. I guess they were maybe 10. 9, 10, something, around that age. And they had all the tributes about Elvis on TV.
Yeah.
And I was watching them, because I was like totally in shock, basically. And next thing I know, I felt Lisa Marie standing behind me, and she was watching. She had no connection with Elvis whatsoever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they just went and played instead. They went. Yeah, my daughter says, come on, this is boring. Let's go play.
Yeah.
I got to close the door.
Yeah, no worries.
Dog barking.
Hey, I'm gonna include some of this chatter in the podcast, but why don't we do an intro?
You got it.
And why don't we? I'll introduce you now. We'll just do 5, 4, 3. Hello, Tommy Chong. How you doing?
Hey, good, man. I'm doing really good. We're still fighting the lockdown, the pandemic, and I got my dogs going crazy because someone's walking in here. Oh, I guess that's our bong thing's coming.
Your bong what?
We're going to be doing the bongs again. This is from I went to jail because of bongs.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about that. Hey, you ever pinch yourself and think, man, I can't believe the life I'm living?
All the time.
Yeah.
But I kind of do. I've made peace a long time ago. Well, I've been doing so many interviews, you know, and they always ask you about, how do you feel about legalizing weed and all that stuff? and and did you ever think that weed would be legal? All those questions.
Yeah.
And so I've been doing some thinking. Plus, I'm 82. And so when you get close to the finish line, one thing about old people, we start going back to we go younger and younger in our memories.
Yeah.
And like it, because what happens when you get older, you become an individual again.
Yeah.
Before you're a husband, you're a father. You know what I mean? You're a partner, But as you get older, you become an individual. You become yourself, like you were when you were a kid, when you were a young kid. That's your memories. It's just you, Jack. There's nobody else.
Yeah.
And so I started. When people ask me, are you surprised? And, that pot's legal and all that stuff, I got to tell you the truth. And I tell them the truth too, is no, I've always felt in my heart that weed should be legal because it's so good. Because what happened with me, I kind of got, well, it wasn't just weed, but weed helped me with my music and helped me get off cigarettes, helped me start, working out as far as being healthy, being very healthy goes. because I was with bodybuilders, and the only substance they would do was marijuana. And so I changed my habits around. But I realized, then I got involved in a quest for spirituality, especially when I went to jail. When I got incarcerated, it was kind of a shock, because you're, especially when you're me, Chong, you don't think that anybody's going to seriously put you in jail for selling bongs. I mean, it seems so ridiculous, and so when it did happen, reality didn't kick in until I was literally driving to the prison. And Vanity Fair wanted to do a story. And so the writer from Vanity Fair was very, kind of flamboyant writer. And he arranged for Vanity Fair to pay for a limousine to take me to jail. And so I rode in a big old stretch limousine to prison. And while are you there? Oh, I lost you. Ah, shit. Are you there? No, I lost you.
It was at this moment that we encountered our first technical snafu. So I called Tommy and we agreed to pick up our convo a day later. Hello, Tommy Chong. How you doing?
Good, man. I'm trying to get through this Skype. But we're doing it.
Yeah, we're doing it. We had some difficulties connecting, but here we are. We're connected, and it's just me and you, Tommy.
Okay, how are you? Just you and me, dude. Yeah, because Dave's not here.
Oh man, you know what? The reason we're talking right now is because I met your daughter Precious years ago, yes, in a actors workshop in Toronto. And we were doing scenes together. And the teacher at the time suggested that you go out with your scene partner and have a drink and get to know them, which was great. Went out, had a drink with Precious and had some dinner and chatted and got to know each other. And she was telling me about all the different places she's lived. And I said, wow, that's interesting. You lived in Los Angeles and you lived in Amsterdam. And she's telling me about these places. I said, what did your parents do for a living? And she says, I don't know. She says, do you know who Tommy Chong is? And I said, man, I was born in 1970 when I was growing up. And every time I went to a party, some guy was like, hey, man, Dave's not here. Every time I got introduced to somebody. I said, I know exactly who Tommy Chong is. How could I not? So that's how this all started, through your daughter, Precious.
Oh, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, she's a lovely lady. I haven't seen her in a long while, but I was at I live here in Costa Rica, and I was at a skate shop, and I saw a Cheech and Chong skateboard, and I took a picture of it. I sent it to her, and I said, hey, look, familiar faces in Costa Rica. And then we started talking, and I said, why haven't I talked to her about seeing if Tommy will be on the show? But here we are.
You're in Costa Rica now?
I'm in Costa Rica right now, yeah.
Ah, well, no wonder we're having all these problems, man.
Yeah, maybe that might be part of it. But
it's that Spanish influence, we'll do it tomorrow, man.
Yeah, exactly. yeah. Mañana.
Are you Costa Rican?
I am not Costa Rican. I am Canadian, but my wife and I just kind of felt like my wife is South African. And I've been a Canadian guy from Ontario my whole life, and I just kind of figured, like, I want to experience more. We should get a place somewhere else and be citizens of the world instead of just being people from Toronto our whole lives.
Yeah. So
that's what we're doing.
No, Toronto's a great place to get the hell out of.
Yeah. You're a Canadian guy. You grew up in Alberta.
Yep.
How did the journey, the move to Los Angeles start? You've done what a lot of Canadian artists have done.
It started with I had a band. We put the first black R&B band together in Calgary in 1957. 50. We started in 56, 57.
Is that the 50. Vancouvers, or is that before then?
No, this is in Calgary.
Okay.
We started in Calgary. I was still in school at the time. Then I smoked pot for the first time, quit school, and then concentrated on the band and had other jobs as well. But we got so popular, and I've always been sort of like a community kind of guy, so we started a teen club in Calgary, which was a stroke of genius in one way because it was a teen club, and so it was sanctioned by the boys club, or not boys club, but like the youth program in Calgary, and we had packed the dance with all these teenagers, in Calgary, and so it got too popular because because they shut us down. It was Saturday night, and so midnight they would shut us down, and then we'd have all these kids there, with nothing to do, and so they would drift off into the city and cause a lot of trouble, and so we got kicked out of Calgary by the mayor of Calgary.
That's a badge of honor.
We thought we were going to get an award, and we got asked to leave. And they just wanted us to leave during the Christmas time. But when they said leave, we left and went to Vancouver. Then we basically resettled in Vancouver. But it was that's how we started moving around. And then the singer, his name was Tommy Milton, beautiful black Canadian, African Canadian. What do you call it? African American, African Canadian? And so he had the bug. He could have been a pro football player, but he hurt his knee. But he had that star quality, that quality, and he knew how to make it big. And so he had us driving or taking trips down to L.A. and trying to find work down there, with music, and that's basically how I got my traveling bug. It was with help from Tommy Milton, the singer. But, yeah, but then then I connected with another singer in San Francisco, and he was Bobby Taylor. And he was one of those unsung stars of, there's so many of them around. They would have made it big had it not been for their criminal activity, or their attitude.
It was at this moment that Tommy's son walked into the room to let Tommy know that some of his business partners had arrived at the house, so we would need to cut our chat short. Before signing off, however, Tommy gave us a scoop on the reason for the visit.
You'll get the scoop on this. I got busted for bongs, right?
Yeah.
So they shut down the whole bong industry, and we had a competitor. It was Jerome Baker bongs, and there was Chong bongs and Jerome Baker.
Yeah.
Well, we've teamed up.
Oh, cool.
Now we're a team now, and they just flew from Vegas with our new bongs, because I'm going to be featuring. We're going to go on tour, especially with this pandemic. We're going to go on tour with a $1 billion bong. That's how much this bong is worth. I'm serious. It's a $1 billion bong, and people ask me, how come it's $1 billion? Well, it used to be $1 million bong, but it's not exciting anymore.
Yeah.
It has to be $1 billion bong.
You got to up the ante.
And so we're going to be taking a picture of the $1 billion bong along with other Chong bongs and everything else. And so, and they flew in, and they're on a tight schedule. So I'm going to have to.
Okay. We'll
pick this up.
Thanks, Tommy. I appreciate that.
Okay, man. Nice talking to you, Dave.
All right.
Because Dave's not here.
Cheers.
Okay, brother.
Talk soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
We decided to pick up the conversation a few days later. At that point, I was traveling with Belinda and friends, and we had settled for the week at a bed and breakfast type place in Puerto Viejo, on the opposite side of Costa Rica on the Caribbean Sea, just north of the Panama border. Hello, Tommy Chong. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's nice to see you. You're a Canadian-born guy. You grew up in Alberta, and that's where you started in the show business. You started as a musician, right?
Yeah. I've been a musician most of my life.
Yeah.
Since I was 8.
Yeah. And so you started a band in Calgary. Is that where you were first started out? Is that first band you had?
I started off with a full-blood native, Sarcee native, named Dick Bird.
Yeah.
We met in Army cadets, and he's a guitar player and a singer, and so him and I used to jam a lot. We played a lot together, and then he became an Elvis impersonator. I was his backup guitar player.
Yeah.
And then I met a football player, friend of my brother's, Tommy Milton, and who would later become Little Daddy of Little Daddy and the Bachelors. Mm-hmm. And then we formed the first R&B band in Canada.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Very cool.
Mix. Yeah.
You told me that you fell in love with rock and roll when you saw Elvis, right?
Yeah. That's who I was playing with. It was Dick, the full-blood Sarcee native from Calgary, would grease his hair back and put on a white sports jacket and turn the collar up.
Yeah,
and wiggle like Elvis, and the girls would go crazy. That's when I got that's when I was bitten by show business.
Yeah. So you were doing your thing in Calgary for a while, and then what brought you to Vancouver?
We got kicked out of Calgary by the mayor of Calgary. That's very, very historical. Or we'd probably still be there. We were having a good time. That's why it was a kind of a racial thing. Like I said, we were the first black band in Canada, and we started feeling a taste of racism,
Right. You were pushing the boundaries, and they didn't like that too much.
Well, we were showing a culture. Mm-hmm. It was in the boundary. If we, had been Irish music or some country music, nothing would have been said.
Right.
But it was kind of like black magic music.
Right.
Like a scary R&B, I think, and. Anyway, that got us to Vancouver.
Yeah. So you spooked the locals in Calgary and you headed for Vancouver.
Yeah. Asked to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you end up. It's incredible that you end up leaving Alberta and you end up on Berry Gordy on Berry Gordy Records or Motown Records, right?
Well, Vancouver, we turned Vancouver into a pretty hip town. Like I said, I had the first black R&B band in Calgary, and then when we went to Vancouver, we were the first black R&B band in Vancouver. Yeah. And we had an after-hours club, and we were very, very, very popular. And then our drummer quit.
Yeah.
He became the drummer for the Three Dog Night. You remember those?
Yeah, sure, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Floyd Sneed. He was my brother-in-law and drummer, but him and Tommy got in an argument one time, and Floyd got a better offer, so Floyd quit to join the Three Dog Night. And so we had to get a drummer, and so we knew Bobby Taylor, the singer in San Francisco. So we called Bobby, and Bobby says, I can drum on the part. Yeah, you don't need a drummer, I'll drum. Send me I'll be right there. So we got Bobby. Of course, Bobby played the drums, and he played actually the three of us, Wes, Bobby, myself. We had a hot trio, for a while. Mm-hmm. But and then Diana Ross and the Supremes came by the club one night and heard us, and and Diana Ross called Barry, and Barry Gordy flew to see Diana Ross, really, but we were a good excuse. And he signed us.
Wow.
And the rest is history.
Yeah. And how long were you guys together, the Vancouvers?
Vancouvers, I think we did, let's see, 6, 7, about 3 years.
Oh, yeah?
About 3 years.
You tour a lot?
No. We did the Chitlin circuit, and then we never had a second hit. We needed another hit, to keep going up. But Bobby got pulled away, and then I got fired, and then I met Cheech and decided I'd be a funnier guy than a guitar player.
Yeah, I read somewhere online. It told me, I don't know if this is just a bullshit story or whatever, but I read somewhere online that you got fired, and then Barry Gordy called you back and said, "Oh, sorry, that was a mistake. You're unfired." And then you said, "Well, you'd rather stay that way because you wanted to be Barry Gordy."
Yeah, it actually happened. Barry, I got fired. It was a misunderstanding, basically. Yeah. The road manager didn't realize how powerful I was. He thought I was, some just poor ass musician. Mm-hmm. But Barry knew. Barry and I were pretty tight all through the whole Bobby Taylor thing, and the Jackson 5. We were the ones that brought Barry. We gave Barry the Jackson 5. Here you go.
You guys played together, right?
Yeah, the Jackson 5. Yeah, we did one gig, and then Bobby brought him to Barry Gordy and signed him up. But in Vancouver, we that's where we got discovered. We were good. Bobby Taylor, man, he was singing, and Wes. We had a hell of a sound.
What was it like? What was it like seeing little Michael Jackson when he was in the beginning? Could you tell he was going to blow up, or?
We kind of all knew. Well, the weird thing about Michael, he was an old man when we met him, literally. Yeah. He was older than anybody I had ever met. Acted older, Yeah. He was a mannish boy, as they say in the blues. Very mannish boy.
And what does that mean? And does that just mean that he was he had been managed so much by his father or something that he was already?
No. What it means is that when you grow up in the ghetto, you become an adult around 3 or 4.
Right.
In order to survive. Yeah. You're an old man by the time you're 8 or 10.
Yeah.
And so Michael was very, very, from the ghetto. His father kept him in line and all that. But he was still a product of the ghetto. And as a result, when you're that young, you learn all the survival skills. Mm-hmm. And Michael changed the survival skills into dance and singing. You know? And that's why he evolved. That's why he became such a powerful force, mm-hmm. because that literally saved his life and took his life at the end. No, Bobby Taylor, when we got with Bobby Taylor, he was the, I've always been around greatness. Bobby was one of them. Jimi Hendrix was another, Jackson 5 was another, Muhammad Ali was somebody else, I've always been around greatness, teach, Do you
know why that is?
Hmm?
Do you know why that is? You just is it
that I've always been around
personality and how you connect with people?
I'm ordained. I'm here for a specific reason. And I think I know what it is. The hemp message is very clear.
Yeah.
The weed message is very clear. And, I realize that. And, I realize I have influence. I realize that I have answers, and that's what the smart people are looking for now,
Yeah. Right. The people who are have some sort of a clairvoyance to them. You know, was that something you have? Is it? Do you just do you have a clarity to you that other people don't have? Do you see things or that other people don't quite see? Or
obviously,
yeah.
You wouldn't be talking to me.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, I asked you this before. You must pinch yourself from time to time and say, "Well, you know, I can't believe I ended up here in the life I've been living and the people I've met. It's pretty fantastic."
I wish I was that humble.
Yeah.
I'm not. No, I'll tell you the truth. Being on top, it's precarious. You know, you really have to have balance. Being on top of anything. That's what it's taken, balance. Because if you lose your balance, you know, you're done. You're done. So but it's been good, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the main thing. That's the main thing. You know, I've gotten this far. Like I'm learning Argentine tango.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lifelong obsession with me, you know, over many, many years. And it's just lately I've studied the men.
Right.
It's usually when I watch anything, if there's a woman involved, I'm looking at her, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I ended up watching men, and it's all about balance. All about balance. And that's what life is, you know, all about the balance. You got to keep your balance.
I was thinking you should do a documentary about some of your philosophies of life and call it the Tao of Chong.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing a podcast, I guess, eventually, very quickly. We're getting a green screen in now for some, I guess, TikTok.
Right.
TikTok. I've been doing some TikTok stuff. I'm going to be doing a podcast with my son so I can, focus, you know, with my younger son. He's the one that's in Canada.
Oh, he's out in Vancouver, right?
Vancouver Island.
Okay.
Roughest, the best surfing in Canada.
Yeah.
One of the best, yeah. So, yeah, he's doing fine. Doing better. You know, he lucked out. He sold his house in Boulder just before the pandemic.
Right.
Literally a week, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And then they drove down to Mexico. And they got quarantined down there. They had to stay there all during, and so they were there for quite a while. And then when they lifted the border, then they drove up to Vancouver, and that's where they are now. They got It's funny because we were thinking his name is Gibran, and he was named after Khalil Gibran, the great poet, the great writer, and he became very spiritual himself, you know. And so we're going to do, just like you said, the Tao of Chong. That's a good name. I might use that.
Yeah, you should. I think it would be great.
The Tao of Chong.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned Gibran. I got 2 tattoos done by a guy down here in Liberia who was named after Gibran, and his name is Gibran Ulate. And he's got a Ulate. He's got a tattoo studio in Liberia.
Oh, nice.
He was named after the same poet.
The same poet, yeah.
Yeah.
And is he a very mellow guy?
He is very mellow.
Yeah. Isn't that something? Something in a name. Well, you know, my son took a course in body work, some sort of therapy, you know, they use on people with autism and different physical problems. And he took a course, you know, it was like, I don't know, 2 months, 8 weeks, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then he didn't know what to do with that knowledge, but now he's up in Canada, and he put a little ad in the on his website, and got some response from the native tribe, and so he might be working. Well, he will be. He'll be. He's got like I think there's 2,000 members in this one native tribe, and everything works out. Everything happens for a reason, I guess.
Yeah. If you see it first, you can make it happen, right?
Yeah.
We ended up picking up our conversation again almost a week later once I was back in my studio in Playas del Coco. Tommy's a curious guy, and this part of the conversation ended up feeling like I was a guest on his show.
So where do you live? What's the name of the town that you live in Costa Rica?
So the town that we're living in is called Playas del Coco, which is Coconut Beaches. It is about a half-hour drive from the Liberia airport. It's in the North Pacific side.
Is Liberia a name of a town in Costa Rica?
Yeah, it's one of the two major international airports. One is in San Jose, and the other one is in Liberia, which is in the north.
Yeah, I've heard of San Jose. What side of the
Pacific?
What? Oh, you're on the Pacific side.
Yeah, just south of Nicaragua.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice, huh?
It's dry up on this side, and then last week we were down on the Caribbean side, which was cool. Like I was telling you, it was kind of like Costa Rica meets Jamaica. Lots of reggae music and lots of guys with dreads and lots of rastas and so it has a completely different vibe than up where I am.
And is that near what town is that called? San Jose?
It's close to San Jose and Limon, and it's near the Panama border where we were last week.
Yeah. And what did you just drive there?
Yeah, it took us about 10 hours to drive. It's on the complete other side of the country, and we stayed in like little cottages in the jungle there. It was pretty cool.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Indoor plumbing in the cottage?
Yeah. They're just like.
What do they use there? A septic tank kind of thing, or do they have a
septic tank? Yeah.
I guess the whole country is almost on septic.
Yeah, even we've got like a sort of a condo or a villa here, and we've got a septic tank. Actually, it overflowed while we were away, and one of the neighbors got a guy to come and pump it out. I didn't even know we had a septic tank until it overflowed.
Oh, until you found out.
Yeah.
So, and how's the virus down there? Is it there at all?
It's in our area, it's pretty quiet. There hasn't been many people at all who've gotten sick, but mind you, there was an outbreak about 45 minutes from here at a resort where some of the workers who were working there passed it around to each other. So they've isolated those guys. But it's been pretty quiet here. But this country really clamped down pretty hard right away. Yeah. So
you can't get in or you can't get out, I guess.
You can now, but I mean, they clamp down with a lot of different restrictions and stuff as soon as it happens. So I think they managed to kind of keep it under wraps.
Yeah, because in that type of country, any kind of virus epidemic could spread pretty fast if it gets crazy.
Yeah, especially since families are pretty, the families live in pretty big numbers down here, right, together in the same home. It's not uncommon for at least 10 people to be living in one home. So,
now, are you bilingual? Do you speak Spanish?
I speak some Spanish, and then I speak French as well. But the French doesn't help me too much here, but it helps me pick up Spanish, though.
I bet.
Because it's pretty close.
Romantic language, yeah.
Sure, yeah.
It's the romantic language. Yeah, that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
So why did you skip town again? You're wanted by the police?
Yeah. You know what happened? It was kind of a funny thing. I've been living in Toronto for 25 years, coming up on 25 years next week. I owned a house, and then later a couple of condos, and we owned a condo right downtown on the harbor front. And I bought it a few years ago, and I got a flyer in the mail saying that somebody had sold theirs for twice what we had paid, and we were just starting over, right? We had a brand new mortgage and everything, and we were like, we could get twice what we paid for this thing 3.5 years ago. So we sold it and got almost $1 million for it, and bought a house here. And then we wanted to stay in Toronto during the summer. I wanted to be able to audition for projects and work on projects there in the summer. So we bought a boat. So what we do is we live down here in the winter, and in the summer we live on a 41-foot power boat at the foot of Spadina, like right in front of the CN Tower right there. So
you got a power yacht, huh?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So that was kind of cool. That's how we figured out how we were going to do that, like be able to hold on to something in Toronto, have a foot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's been cool.
Well, that's so cool, man.
Yeah.
You and your wife, what does your wife do? Is she?
She works in travel. She's South African, and she's specialized in selling South African travel for I guess about 20 years now.
Oh, like the safaris and all that.
Exactly that. Like she's been on safari probably over 100 times.
I bet.
Yeah.
What's her favorite place? Kenya?
Her favorite place is Botswana. She loves Botswana.
Oh, yeah. When this pandemic ends, there's a few on my bucket list, and Africa is definitely on my bucket list here. Yeah, I want to do some traveling now. You know, I've never been to the continent itself. Well, I've been North Africa. That's about it.
Yeah.
You know, Morocco, and around there. Tripoli. Anyway, we were there.
Yeah.
Yeah. When the kids were smaller, it's funny. When they were younger, we took them everywhere. You know, and I don't know why. My wife she's very ambitious when it comes to taking care of business when you have the time and the money. You know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's cool. It's cool when parents do that when they include their kids in everything, right? I mean, the kids get to enjoy all those experiences too.
You guys don't have any kids?
We don't have any kids. No.
But, and so you're a little selfish, huh? Just the two of you.
Yeah. We try to include our nephews and nieces in our lives as much as possible to fill that gap.
When you need that energy.
Yeah, for sure.
So they always got the crazy aunt and uncle that are ready to live on a boat.
Exactly.
That's very romantic. Yeah.
Keep it interesting for them.
Yeah, my uncle lives on a boat, man. Come on. He'll get it for us. Come on.
Yeah, they definitely like that. They like coming out on the boat.
That's the way my brother was a scuba diver, you know.
Yeah.
He took it pretty serious, and he was doing, the scuba diving work and that. You know? And so I would take his gear and put it on. And he lived in Vancouver in the Horseshoe Bay, right on the water. And so I would put on the gear and just go down about 12, 15 feet and sit on the bottom, put a rock on my lap and just sit there. And then let the ocean come to me. Yeah. Yeah. My wife and I are divers, and isn't that an amazing kind of Zen feeling? Just, I love just spreading out my arms and legs and just floating and just being. You know? Yeah, well, that's what I do. Sitting on the bottom, you become part of the ocean. Yeah. And then all the little critters, all the little ocean critters come up, and they think you're either food or something. Yeah. Anyway, they come up and they look in your mask, and then they swim away. They're so curious. Yeah, they see all. I got the. Well, because of my pot habit, I wasn't too interested in doing anything strenuous. Right. I like to get high and sit somewhere and just look. Yeah, that's so cool. So Toronto, and where were you? You were born in Ottawa. Ottawa, that's right. Right. Raised in Ottawa. Yeah. How about your wife? Oh, she's from Africa. That's right. Yeah, she's from Johannesburg, South Africa. South Africa. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a cool place. It is. Yeah. It is, and you should definitely get down there. It's I definitely had a feeling when I was there that it's a magical place. It's the place where we're all from. Originally, originally, yeah. The African. Yeah, that's a crazy place. Yeah, I've been in North Africa. We're in Morocco, and again, my wife is a bit of a free spirit, So we booked a car to take us into the mountains, to see the natives and Berbers and look at rugs and stuff like that. And we're driving along in the mountains, and all of a sudden my wife tells the driver, "Hey, stop. And I said, "What's up?" She goes, "Let's walk." And we're in North Africa. I said, "Okay." So we get out, and she tells the driver, "Just meet us at the next town."
Yeah.
And the guy said, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
And away we go. And he takes off, and we went walking in the countryside in Morocco. Little did we know that we were risking quite a bit, because the thing is with tourists,
yeah,
one of the things is to kidnap them,
sure,
and just get paid for taking care of tourists.
Yeah, especially well-known tourists like you.
Yeah. So we had we had a guide with us. He was in the passenger side, and he never really had time to argue. We're out of the car, boom, we're walking. And then when he was really worried, but we walked through the countryside. It was beautiful. And then we went to a little coffee shop, a little roadside coffee shop, and met a guy from France, Frenchman, married to a Moroccan. And he said, "Oh, we're going for a walk too. You can join us." And so we walked with them, and they took us down to a little Bedouin village.
Yeah.
And one house was literally built over into a creek. And at the side of the house, at the end of the house that was in the creek, was their sauna.
Okay.
They had a sauna.
Nice.
And obviously the creek didn't overflow, because if they did, that house wouldn't be there. And so we inside this real Bedouin house, and they don't mind you coming looking, and then you give them a tip for being there.
Yeah.
You tip them, and it was very cool. I love that. The real, I like being with the real people.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you get invited a lot for tea? They make a big deal of how they serve tea.
Well, especially with the rug salesman.
Yeah.
Those poor buggers, man. Because they work hard showing you all their carpets.
Yeah, for sure.
And then what they do, I see, because I was studying all that. And I could see how they use that psychology. They work the guys real hard, and you feel guilty, and so you feel like, well, you got to buy something.
Yeah.
And so we did. We bought a shitload of carpets and that, and then it came time to ship them. I don't know what happened. Anyway, it ended up. I don't know. We never got them. We never got your carpets home. We got the carpets that we bought in our luggage. We never got the ones that were shipped. But it's okay. It wasn't that much anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all a good experience.
Yeah, my wife traveled around Morocco, and she said it was one of her favorite. She thought it was one of the most romantic places she's ever visited. Morocco.
Oh yeah. You go to the sightseeing, you go to the palaces, and they show you where they kept all the harem, all their women. They'd all live in this one little area up there, and they had these little intricate screens that they could see out, but you couldn't see in.
Yeah.
And it was the king. He had his harem. Who would want that headache? Huh?
Yeah. One of the things, the reason I wanted to chat with you today was I wanted to talk to you about, specifically about activism, your pot activism. And,
sure.
You're a guy who, you told me last week when we were chatting that you figured that you were here for a reason, and you figured that the reason you were here was most likely to deliver your message about cannabis, about marijuana to the world. You could have been a guy that just enjoyed smoking pot on his own, like a lot of people. And why did you decide to make this a bit of a mission? Hello? And yes, we had another technical issue that cut the call short. So I called Tommy up and we agreed to pick up the next day. That conversation is the focus of part 2 of episode 17 with Tommy Chong. My thanks to Tommy for all of the time he spent chatting with me for this episode. It has been a real treat to get to know him. I hope you'll join me for part 2 of my chat with Tommy as we discuss more about his amazing journey. Also, thank you very much again to Mr. Jerry Stamp, who wrote and performed the Cool Story theme song and all other jingles and stings that appear on this show. Do yourselves a favor and look for Jerry's music wherever you stream. And finally, thank you for listening. Until next time, pura vida.
Everybody's had some adventures. Everybody's had a few close calls. Everybody's got a story. What's yours?